Hello, I'm Bernard Hickey from interest.co.nz and welcome to our top 10 charts for 2010, brought to you in association with Bank of New Zealand. We're just going to run through what I think are the top 10 charts for 2010, the one that tell us what's happening with our economy, where we might be headed. Let's have a look at this one, which is overseas debt. Now this is gross overseas debt, which includes both government debt and corporate debt, and that includes bank debt, in essence held on our behalf. And what you can see here is that from the mid-90s it rose from around about 70-80% of GDP, so it rose much faster than GDP, and it rose through to around about 137% in late 2009. And then it started to improve somewhat through 2009 as New Zealanders were a lot more cautious about their spending and weren't borrowing so much overseas. But what's interesting is that towards the end of 2010, in the June and September quarters, and that's where we have the data from the Reserve Bank, you can see that it's starting to creep up again. It's gone from a low of 128.8% of GDP in mid-2010 to up again to 132.4% of GDP. So what's going on here? Who's borrowing the money to increase that gross debt? Well, it turns out it's the government. The government is expected to run a budget deficit this year of 7.7% of GDP. Essentially, this economy, which seems like it's not growing very fast, in fact, it's virtually in recession, is actually being held up, supported by government spending of more than 5% of GDP. It's about $11–12 billion worth of borrowing every year from the rest of the world. So we're increasing our total debts. And that's a worry for the likes of Standard & Poor's, which currently has New Zealand's credit rating on outlook negative. This will be the challenge for next year and beyond for any government and for the Reserve Bank, and essentially for all of us. How are we going to start reducing that debt as a percentage of GDP? What sacrifices are going to have to be made? Should we make those sacrifices? Big questions as we head into an election year. I'm Bernard Hickey. That was the first of our series of 10 in our top 10 charts for 2010, brought to you in association with Bank of New Zealand.